Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 1979 drama Old Boyfriends. Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on the film, or just my thoughts in general, I would like to give a special shout out to Tutti Frutti for requesting this review. And if there is another film, TV show, or topic that you would like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to either my PayPal, my Patreon, or my Cash App. The links to all three are in the video description down below, and I will try to get your requests as soon as I possibly can. Now, Old Boyfriends is a film directed by first-time filmmaker Joan Tewkesbury. And prior to directing this, she made her name in Hollywood as a screenwriter, who actually wrote some critically acclaimed films. So there was a little bit of some buzz going on prior to this film's release, considering it was Joan's first film, and also because of the cast, specifically the lead in Talia Shire, who had already been nominated for Academy Awards at this point, and would have been fresh off of Rocky, and also one of the co-stars in John Belushi, making his dramatic debut as an actor. And for a first-time director, the direction is fine. It's not too bad. I think she does a really good job when it comes to showcasing emotion. Specifically, there is a really great scene of Talia Shire and her character having a breakdown in a bathtub, and the way that the shot is framed and the way that the shot is directed in general, it just does a genuinely great job capturing the intense emotion of that scene. And there's a handful of other scenes in the film that also do the same. It's a movie that has a lot of awkward, genuinely kind of unsettling vibes at points. And I think the director does an equally good job when it comes to capturing that kind of vibe as well. I don't think she's as good though when it comes to trying to capture something that's supposed to be comedic. And when it comes to the direction, there really isn't a lot of dynamic shots in this movie. There's some wide shots that look pretty good, pretty solid, but there's also a lot of stuff that's really not gonna uh, stick out that much. It's just a lot of shots that are just kind of there when it comes to the framing or the usage of the camera work. But overall, not too bad for a first time director. And it is a drama, by the way. So there's really not a lot of uh, visuals that would really lend itself well to something that was a little more ambitious when it comes to the direction. But that hasn't really stopped other directors when it comes to other films, though. So I don't think that's necessarily an excuse for some very kind of stock, sort of standard direction. But since it's a first time director, I can I could definitely give her more of a pass and be more lenient. And this film definitely wasn't a success. So because of that, she really wasn't given another shot, except for directing television and directing TV movies after this. So, and I think based on what she provided here, there wasn't really a lot where it made you go, "Wow, this is a really great up and coming director." You just saw a director that okay, she could do a good job of melodrama, but anything else it's kind of iffy. So maybe she would be better cut out for directing television melodramas. And that's exactly what happened with Joan's directing career. Old Boyfriends is written by the duo of Paul Schrader and Leonard Schrader. And The plot centers around this clinical psychologist named Diane Cruz, who is suffering with an identity crisis. She's got issues regarding her marriage. There's a lot of stuff that's troubling her. And so it's led to her trying to figure all of this out by going on a journey of self discovery, a journey to face old trauma from her past, specifically trauma with old boyfriends and breakups, and face it head on. And because she is going through some sort of psychosis, instead of just revisiting her past and trying to move on from it, she decides to take this opportunity when she's visiting these old boyfriends to turn the tables, to inflict new trauma upon her old boyfriends. And it's a very interesting and thought provoking plot at points, but it's also really messy. Originally, it was going to be about an old series of girlfriends with a male lead. But they decided to change things around. I think when Talia Shire wound up becoming attached to the project, so then they changed it to old boyfriends. It really doesn't matter what gender this character is, it's still going to be very awkward, and it's still going to be something that doesn't really work that well because of the way that the script is written. There are some good moments with this script, I'm not going to lie. I think the idea of the road trip and trying to transfer trauma is definitely something that is genuinely fascinating and intriguing and interesting. Uh, and it's definitely different. And I think there is actually a surprising sweet romance in between all of this, between Diane and one of her first loves, and Jeff, who is also trying to find her after she leaves him, uh, after they have a reunion, and he gets the impression that she wants to go steady with him and she wants to be with him, and they've already been together in the past. They almost got married like two separate times, but she winds up leaving him. And so he's trying to figure out what's going on, and he wants to find her because he still has these strong feelings for her, and he wants to be with her, and because of his own marriage falling apart. And so he goes to pretty extreme lengths to find her. He goes to a private investigator played by Buck Henry, and then hires him to try to find her. And while he's trying to find Diane, she's in the middle of this whole journey of trauma transference. And her next target is Eric Katz, who is this boyfriend that she had briefly in I think it was like junior high or high school, and he was a dick to her, and so she decides to turn the tables on him, lead him on, make him think that she's into him. They wind up going, to a nice little spot. She keeps leading him on, and then she decides to leave him there with his pants down and blue balls. And you're like, okay, all right. What is necessarily the problem there? Like, what is the problem with, the tone, so to speak? The problem with that scene is that the tone seems to be pretty lighthearted for the most part, until you have a very jarring scene where Diane has Eric on the ground and then tells him that she's going to rape him. She doesn't actually follow through with it, but the implication in saying it is just very disturbing and just seems very out of place in terms of the tone. Because nothing that she did with her first boyfriend that she started this whole journey with, and Jeff, was anywhere near close to something like that. And then it just continues with this very creepy tone and vibe where she then focuses on her next old boyfriend. And it's this boyfriend that she had when she was a kid. And she thinks that this guy who answers the door at the home that her boyfriend used to live at is her old boyfriend, but it's actually her old boyfriend's brother, because her old boyfriend died in the Navy 10 years earlier. And everything okay. What is she going to do next? Is she just going to move on and have a little sit down with the mom and with the brother and learn a little bit about her old boyfriend and what he did in the Navy, and then that'll help her move on? No. She winds up befriending Wayne, who has some mental issues himself, and has him wear his dead brother's sweater and act like her old boyfriend who's dead. And she actually winds up kissing him. And that causes him to go into a mental breakdown afterwards. Because, I mean, it would. I mean, the total identity crisis, for sure. And the mother is understandably upset. And this is at least a moment where Diane is like, oh crap, like I really went too far here. And she wants to see Wayne. She wants to know where Wayne is. The mom says he's at the hospital. She goes to the hospital and she wants to see Wayne, but instead she winds up seeing Wayne's doctor. And the doctor talks about Wayne and about how he was doing better, but her actions ruined like 3 months of treatment and he had a breakdown. And it's just this long scene where the doctor is basically calling this woman out on her bullshit. It's a really satisfying scene, to be honest, because he's like, you took things too far. As somebody who says you're a clinical psychologist, I can't believe you would even consider doing this to a patient. And if I had the power, I would take away your ability to treat people in the future. Like I would have you barred from treating anybody. And after this verbal beatdown that she receives by the doctor, she snaps out of whatever she was going through and decides to throw away her old diaries and move on from her past and her trauma. And I'm like, okay, that's a good message, but it's just very clunky in execution. And while her whole arc is still going on, uh, her first, well, I mean, not her first, her most recent boyfriend and Jeff is still trying to find her. He isn't able to find her right away, but he does find some people who know her. He finds her ex-husband, who is actually still alive, even though Diane said that he died via suicide. And so he talks to her. I mean, he talks to her husband, ex-husband, and he talks about what she was going through and how she had a breakdown and how she almost killed herself, which is why there was a car accident at the start of the movie. And this is really when you find out that she's gone, let's just say, a little cuckoo. She's gone a little insane in the membrane at this point. She's gone wacky. And that doesn't happen until like over an hour into the movie, which I don't really think was the right move. Make it established early on that she's suffering through some sort of breakdown, mental psychosis. You don't have to show the suicide attempt. You can make that the big twist, the big reveal later on. But to just have this whole thing where she seems seemingly normal and she's going on this trip to connect with old boyfriends, and you have narration from her from various different parts of her life, and she's just going about this journey of rediscovery and reconnection in the most psychotic way possible. It just makes it, well, not the most psychotic. It would be even more psychotic if she just actually killed all of her old boyfriends. But it's like as close as you can get without going that far. And it just makes you less sympathetic towards this woman. It makes you not care as much about her journey because you just want her to stop, not only for her sake, but for everyone else. Because she's a danger to herself and to all these other old boyfriends that she's coming across. And when by the end, she just winds up getting back together with Jeff, what is supposed to be like a sweet, heart-warming, moment where these two that were meant to be together and just didn't fully commit to the relationship are now ready to commit. This woman has already shown that she should be committed to an asylum. And she just gets over all of these moments of genuine severe psychosis by just tossing away some old journals in a dumpster and then getting back with one of her old boyfriends. I'm like, that's not how you move past that kind of trauma, and that's also not how you recover from that kind of psychosis. You don't just throw some stuff away and be like, all right, I'm good now. I got that out of my system. I would have been more into the ending, more accepting of it if there was more of like a instance where Diane took actual responsibility for her actions instead of her like having her freak out in the bathtub. And that had some good acting by Talia Shire, but at the same time, okay, you had that freak out moment. But where's the moment where you're like, yeah, I really I did a wrong thing. Like her maybe going back and giving a couple phone calls. I give a phone call to Eric, saying that she was wrong for doing what she did to him, and so on and so forth. And she wishes him well. The same for Wayne if she can get a hold of him. Stuff like that. Like it just moves past that. Like, okay, we're done with that because she threw the diaries away. And I'm like, no, that's we're not done with this. She needs to atone for this more than just throwing some diaries away and getting back with Jeff. And it's just a very strange script in a lot of ways. With the tone, with the way the plot unfolds. Like from the beginning, you're just confused and you're wondering what the hell is even going on with the car crash and all this other stuff. And then when she decides to go on this journey of trying to find her old boyfriends, you don't really get a clear motivation. She's just driving around and then finding guys and then messing with them. And you're like, what is wrong with this woman? That and you find out what's wrong with her, but she doesn't really cure herself in a satisfying way or in a way that really makes that much sense. It's very much a Hollywood kind of take on how to recover from trauma and how to recover from a mental breakdown. Because she clearly went through a mental breakdown of some kind. And then she got over it because the screenwriters were like, all right, this is the time for her to get over it and then get back with Jeff. Because the story needs to end. See, it's just I there is a potentially compelling, serious film in this script. And at points, you do actually get to see that come to fruition. But there's a lot of stuff in the script, though, where it just feels like it's just not as impactful as it could be when it comes to the themes, when it comes to the messages, when it comes to the characters, their arcs, and just the overall plot. And it's one of those movies where, in all honesty, it needed to pick a particular tone. If you want to be dark, then be dark. Don't be dark like every now and then. Like, be dark consistently. Go the route where she completely flips and is now going cross country, uh, murdering her old boyfriends. And it's up to one of her old boyfriends to try to stop her. You know, you can go that route, or you can go the route of, okay, it's lighthearted, but there's like some dark comedy, but it's more of a quirky kind of thing instead of like a very subversive, twisted, uh, unnerving, kind of disturbing story. Because it's trying to be both at points, and I don't really think that works. But I will admit, it was a story that did at least keep me interested. I wanted to see how this was all gonna end. I wanted to see how Diane was gonna, get out of this increasing series of very awkward and traumatic situations. I wanted to see if she would wind up getting back with Jeff, because I think the script did a really good job making it seem like those two were genuinely a good couple. So there was some uh instances where you were wanting some sort of happy ending, but not necessarily to the extent of what you got in the actual film, which just felt like it was too much of a happy ending when it comes to the actions of the lead and Diane and what she did. Like, it's just one of those things where you're like, okay, this woman should face some more consequences than just getting a stern talking to. But yeah, it was it was still a fairly fascinating script, even despite its flaws. The cast, I think, is honestly really great. I mean, Talia Shire, she is given a role that is difficult, a character that, in my opinion, isn't really the best written character, but she still brings the character to life and still delivers, in my opinion, a very powerful performance. Like, she is genuinely fantastic in this. I would say this is definitely one of her best performances as an actress. Richard Jordan is also really good as Jeff. I really liked his performance in this. Very charming, very suave, also willing to show a little bit of vulnerability. Um, and I felt that he and Talia were great together. They really had sparks. Keith Carradine, he does a good job playing this mentally challenged man and Wayne, and he does a good job in terms of making you feel uncomfortable when it comes to the scenes with him and Diane, and you do also see that it's not all completely Diane's fault in terms of what ultimately happens later on, because he's also opening some doors and really inspiring her in some ways to keep on and keep going with the charade. And but at the same time you look at it like, okay, he still is somebody who's very mentally fractured, still very uh I wouldn't say unwilling, but definitely somebody who is going to be difficult to handle and to deal with when it comes to trying to work around situations like that, or try to maybe work past his own trauma with a similar kind of thing that Diane is trying to do. And it's a role that I think there's not a lot there for Keith to really work with, like a lot of roles in this, because of the script. But Keith, like everyone else in the cast, still gives it his all and still makes it a role that I think is still effective, despite the lack of depth, and despite how one note the role is. John Belushi, he's done better dramatic work than this, but I got to be honest, he plays a great scumbag in this. Like he plays a very good douchebag, like the type of guy who peaked in high school and still thinks he's hot shit, and will be quick to lash out if you try to really make him face reality. And he's still got that signature, charm, that comedic touch, but it's very sharp. It's a very sharp, pointed performance by John Belushi in this. And it shows that he was very capable of doing some more dramatic work that wasn't just him playing a funny guy. And you also got to see him do music as well. So you got a little bit of, some Blues Brothers stuff. He actually, sang again. He performed Jailhouse Rock. He worked with another blues brother and Murphy Dunn. And you got to see him sing different genres. So if you're a John Belushi fan, there's actually a decent amount to enjoy from his performance, despite him playing such a douchebag. Like, the guy is a genuinely shitty person. Uh, and the rest of the cast is fine too. I mean, you got Garrett Graham, who plays this guy named Sam the Fisherman, who is trying to hit on Diane early on in the film. You have John Houseman, who plays Dr. Hoffman, the doctor, Wayne's doctor, who tears down Diane uh, near the end of the movie. And it was a small role, but he definitely made the most out of it. Same thing goes for Buck Henry as Art Koppel, the PI, and PJ Souls, who plays Sandy, this girl who is dating uh, um, Diane's ex husband. So yeah, I genuinely feel that the cast turns in some good work. The cinematography by William A. Fraker is fine. So is the editing by William H. Reynolds. The music by David Shire, though, I don't know what this score was. This score was confusing. It's kind of fitting for a film that's so confusing when it comes to its tone, but at the same time, I don't think it really helped the movie. And it definitely was another element that really detracted from the film to me because it's very distracting. Like the opening credits music sounds like it's something from a thriller. This is not a thriller. This is a drama, and the music sounds like it's something you would hear in like a thriller from this time. And there's plenty of other bits of the score that sound the exact same way, and I just don't understand the thought process behind that. It needed to be a more emotional, a more gripping score that had its moments of intensity, but also had its moments where it really allowed the emotions to uh, pour and really solidify on the screen. But instead, it's a score that just feels incredibly out of place. Yeah, this is a film that I don't think necessarily deserves to be completely forgotten and lost to history. But I can see why this is not that well known. I can see why this is pretty obscure. I can see why critics weren't really that enamored with it when it came out. I can also see why it didn't really do that well because it's kind of a hard sell. It's not kind of, it is a hard sell for a movie. Like this woman who's going through a mental breakdown and is going around screwing over her old boyfriends on a road trip. But then it's also a romance between her and one of her old boyfriends. It's just one of those movies where I think the concept shows promise, but it doesn't execute it very well in the end. It's flawed, it's strange, it's muddled, but I would say at the end of the day, because of the strength of the performances by the cast, some of the direction, and the moments of the script that really do work, I would say this is at least an okay film. I do think it does have more than a few things that are worthwhile. So it's not one of those movies to me that is just an outright misfire. But that's just my thoughts on old boyfriends. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. See ya.